Hello, BOX-HEAD-01 here, and have you ever wanted to make an animation but don't know where to start? Well, I was the same last September when I started this animation that you can see on screen right now. And I didn't know what I was doing, so today I'm going to tell you what you can do because, from my experience as a self-taught animator. And there are actually two types of animation you can really start off with, and that is digital and traditional. Now, digital, you can see on screen, uses computers and all that type of stuff, and these programs you can see to make online animation, basically. And there's also traditional, which is paper, pencil, any other materials. Today, I'm going to be talking about traditional because that's the one I use, and if you want to see digital, there's many great guides online. We are going to be approaching this in sections. The sections being frames, how to make frames, of course, pictures, how to take pictures, as well as how to make tests for your animation, and, of course, color, animation rigs, and, of course, the final one, cost. But before we look at that, we're going to look at concept art and, of course, storyboards. And moving into concept art, it is probably one of the most important steps for animation, that and storyboards, because it actually gives you a look for your animation. This is where you kind of decide the art style, what the characters will look like, and kind of their personality as well. Now, this is the later concept art, the final version of him, but there's also the versions of him, kind of when you are feeling it out and getting an idea of what you want the character to look like. As you can see, they are very different from the final design. Now, this concept art can come in all shapes and sizes, such as two-person character concepts, one-person character concepts, of course, with different outfits. There can be even like spaceships or vehicles as your concept, and they don't have to stay the same, as I said. They can change heavily, which this did especially. Very heavy changes there. And then, of course, for the main character of the animation, you want to make a more detailed storyboard as well, or, concept art as well for that. And you can see there's that little guy, there's a special different outfit that isn't actually used in the show. It is changed quite heavily, and you can see the helmet as well is changed, because this is the final design for her. Very different in terms of looks, color, and everything like that, but her arms are also a bit too short in this final. They should be down kind of here. But, yeah, there's also concept art that won't be used. If you have like a character or a ship that you think, wow, that's going to be cool, and then eventually while storyboarding you're like, I don't think this will go well with the story, you can always exclude it, which is a great thing with concept art. It doesn't have to be included, and it is always optional to obviously include it there. And it's a great place to start for animation. But concept art isn't just limited to character designs. It can be also the kind of like a 360 view of your character, how they will be dressed, different outfits, of course, as I showed with G1 here, and also expressions, which this is an early expression sheet for this as well. But yeah, concept art is one of the most important things for animation, so you want to do that first before doing anything else. And you can base your characters on whatever idea you have in your head. Say you want to make an animation about, I guess, city life. You can have them in casual clothes or business suits, or if you have one about space and stuff like that, you can have them in weird space sci-fi outfits. It's very versatile, just depending on what you want it to be. And moving on to storyboards, this is also probably the other massive keystone of your animation. It'll basically tell the story you want, and also show the movements and actions of characters in it. Such as this one, which shows, I guess, kind of like a sewer system, and the character jumping down into it. And it can also show some other shots and stuff, the character's actions, and it also shows kind of the bottom, or for mine at least, has the scene number, what the scene's called, as well as the name of the animation. And on the side, it has the actions of the character, so if you forget what these characters are doing, you can, of course, look on here. But this is just a simple kind of animation storyboard that I made. They can come in all different sizes, such as this one, which has the things at the bottom, as well as the scene name there. It can also just be single frames, which you can write on the back of, for the number and then what's going on in there, and you can make a small short animated sequence. Now, they can also be in any length, such as this one being only 5 long, and this one, for the large animation, being over 60. But yeah, one of the most important things about animation is storyboarding, and you want to definitely do that before starting an animation. Without further ado, let's get on to the main stages as I saw or showed you in the beginning. Moving on to the first section from the beginning of the video, we can get onto frames. Now, these can come in all shapes and sizes, as you can see here. There are many different versions of the frame, but what I do is I make a 2 by 3 inch pieces of paper out of one of these larger, I believe they're 9.5 by 11 inch pieces. So they can make 12 pieces of the animation paper, as you could see in the storyboard earlier. The same type of I do the same type of thing to actually make the frames. And this is what you'll want to do to make the more detailed final versions of your animation. Now, you can make frames like this, and you can repeat the background over multiple frames, or you can do the easier way, which is making overlays, which I call them the background, and then you want to overlay this over the background, which is done by actually editing out the background, the white from here, and putting it onto there, which I'll talk about more later. And then there are these larger panning animations, which basically pan from one side to another. They can go any way, and they are very fun to do. They are the same kind of principle as these. I go 2 inches for these ones that pan sideways, and then 3 for ones that pan down on the top there, and then by whatever you want it to be to make however long you want the panning shot to be as well. Now, this is accomplished pretty easily. You take a large picture like this, and then you crop the first version out. Then, going here, you slowly go along, and with every new crop, you get a new picture. And that's what these marks are for. And slowly, you can pan across here. And this can also be accomplished with this type of animation, just going down. And I'll show you what that actually looks like right now. And that was pretty cool. But we can also do these larger frames, which this is a single frame, and it's actually used for a first-person shot of a character walking down a corridor, kind of like this, and it's going to look pretty cool. I haven't actually animated it yet, but these type of shots can turn out really good if you know what you're doing. And to do that, you take the still image, you crop it to the correct size, and you zoom it in on your editing program, which I'll talk about later as well, the editing programs. And then you move the image side to side in the background, while the front, what's on the character's face, or I guess the character's view, stays stable, or the same image. And you can kind of see what I mean if you have like a visor over your character's face, where this would stay the same, while the background in the back would move, and it would kind of create a first-person kind of perspective, which is pretty cool. But you can really experiment with the size and shapes of your frames. They can be very odd, and I actually have a very odd one that I will show now. And this is that odd one. It's kind of moves to make a spinning effect once you take all the pictures and put them together. It's a pretty interesting way to do it. But you can have as many or as little frames as you want, such as this smaller short animation has only 338 frames, while this larger one that I'm working on has over 2,798. This section is usually the longest and most time-consuming part of animating, which is obviously drawing out everything. After this, you can get on to taking pictures. And taking pictures is a very easy task. Now, if you want them to all be the same size, which you really want them to be, and also have the same lighting, you'll want to use a rig like this, which I was going to show in the rig section, but I might as well also show it here, because it's an integral part to taking pictures. What you do is you put your frame on that little square down there. It should be like this size actually, but I just have it as a square. Kind of line it up under there, and then you put your camera through here. Now that will give you a perfect view of the frame, and you can see that right down there. It should be a good quality picture as well, if you do it correctly. And I'll actually show you with a colored frame so you can more easily see that. But if you take a picture, it's usually great quality, and it is always the same size as the one before it. And once you crop the picture to its correct size and edit it, it can be ready to use in the animation. Now, you can take as many pictures as you want of a frame. You don't have to just take one and be happy with it. If you don't like the quality, or if the lighting isn't too good, which is another thing. I luckily have a flash on this thing that I use for mine, and that usually helps with the lighting in these black and white ones. But if you have a colored frame and the flash distorts the color, you'll want to have lights coming in from both sides, or all sides even, to kind of give it a more even light without having the camera flash wash it out. It's a little bit harder to take pictures with these frames and have them be the perfect quality. What you want to do is just get over it like this and have it as stable as possible. With the smaller ones like that, you may be able to actually fit it in there, but with these large ones, you want to make either you can make a taller, more stable rig like this, but larger, and then take the picture, or you can just hover over it like this and hope the picture takes, which is kind of my way of doing it, and it usually works out pretty well, as long as your item is on a flat surface, which this quite obviously isn't right now. It should be at the same lighting level and not be distorted at all, which is very good. And that can be done the same for this and this type of picture. Moving on, we can get into the next section. And the next section we are getting into is pre-testing. Now, this is a pre-test that I did for the animation originally, and you can see how terrible it looks. And that's why you do pre-tests. Like this is a running animation. This is not a still picture, and it was like this. That's why I changed it, or will change it in the final version. And that's what is great about pre-tests. You can see what's wrong with your animation and change them to correct any mistakes. Anyway, we can be done with pre-tests and move on to the next section. And the next section of this animation, which has always been the hardest for me, is color. Now, I'm not very good with coloring or anything like that, but what I am good at is seeing something that is wrong and changing it, which is what you want to do with color. In the first things, you may want a certain color for your characters and everything like that. Like, say, this girl is supposed to have blue hair and gray uniform, black undercoat, or whatever you call it, Under Armour, I guess. And that doesn't look very good in the final. And you're like, okay, so I want to really change this design, but I still want to keep some of the core elements with the color there. And that's what I did. I actually made some color sheets, color tests, which you want to do to make sure your character looks good with the color of clothing or just in general that they have. And this is the first version. Now, it's fine. It doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't look great either. It's pretty bland, pretty monotone even, or I don't know what you call it, black and white, I guess you could say. And then I made some different tests, like this one with a red undercoat. Didn't look good, looks like she was filleted. The next one, which actually looks pretty good, has the different, like, whiter armor and the red stripes on it, which looks fine. And then finally, I thought, I really want to have the blue hair. I can't really go without it, so I decided to go back to a more gray and black look, but put in some color here, and it shows up better without the flash. As I said earlier, flash drowns out the color. But there is some brown on that cloak there, which is, I slightly changed it for the final design, as you can see here, but that was what I thought looked really good, and I can assure you it does look good if the flash wasn't on. But yeah, it looks way better than the first version, which was a bit too dark and too monotone, didn't have enough color, and that splash of brown and some splashes of red like that just add a lot to the character's color. Now, coloring frames is way different, and that's going to be the harder, more time-consuming task. Not as time-consuming, I don't think, as actually drawing out the new frames, but it's really, really close. And that's going to be something I actually haven't done yet, which I'm going to be working on soon. But coloring animations takes a long time, You got to get the right supplies to color them. You can do it with pencils, as I do, markers, which is also a great idea, and just anything really, crayons even, if you want to. But that's one of the great advantages of digital animation. You can use any color at any time, which is one thing you can't do with traditional. So if you want, you can actually upload these images and then color them digitally, which is another option. I have never done that, and I won't do that for this because I'm lazy and I don't want to learn how to do it. But it's pretty time consuming. It can be, you know how to color something in, obviously. I mean, if you're watching this video, you're probably already an artist, so you probably use color a lot. So you can color them in however you want. Now, what you will want to pay attention to is lighting, as well as just like shading and shadows and all that type of stuff when coloring it in. You can even like remake a frame by drawing over it, and oh yeah, I probably should have told you earlier, you can put that over it. It slightly shows through in person, obviously. It's a lot easier to see, or you can flip it up, and that's how you kind of make consecutive frames in traditional. But yeah, pretty easy to do with color. You just need to know what you're doing. So study color theory before starting your coloring habits as well. It'll also give you a better character design colors, of course. But yeah, we can move on from color onto probably the most uninteresting part, but also the most important part, which is, I guess putting things together isn't too uninteresting, but the software part of everything, which is a bit uninteresting. So let's get into software and rigs. And this is the only real animation rig I use. And by rig, I mean like thing that I use that's not part of the actual animation to help kind of finish the animation or make it. And that's what I use. I use a large piece of cardboard with, well, I guess, large cardboard paper sandwich with these supports, which are toilet paper rolls. And yeah, with some paper on the bottom to kind of show what you're doing. And that's all I use to take pictures. I already showed you that earlier, so I'm not going to get into it. But we can get onto the software part of things, which is the slightly harder thing to do if you don't work digitally, like obviously this traditional animation, but it is necessary if you want to put everything together. The next thing we can get onto is software. Now, there are two different softwares that I use. One simply called Background Eraser that, well, as the name would suggest, erases backgrounds when you use it. And you can see how this works, as I'm demonstrating on screen now. It's a very simple tool to use. It doesn't take any practice, really. It's just pretty easy. You can obviously erase stuff, and then as well, if you erase something you don't want to erase, you can always repair stuff. And those are really the only tools that I really use. There is a color tool that if you outline the thing you want to keep and then have a big background that you don't want to keep, you can very easily remove it, as long as it's all the same color. But then there's also, it very easily saves to your gallery. The next one I use is a editing app called UCut, very simple mobile editing app. The one I use, because it's very easy to use and doesn't take up too much space, it's pretty simple as well. It has all the features I'd need, and since I animate in, I guess, 10 frames a second, it's pretty useful because it can go, you can edit the duration of clips, as I'll show you right here, down to 0.1 seconds, which is perfect for me. If you do want to edit or animate in more than 1 frame or 10 frames a second, you will probably have to find a different app though. So you can always search for your own. These are just the ones I use, and they work really well, as you can see here how that works. Obviously, very cool. Now, we're going to get on to the one that you've all been wondering. How much would this cost? Now, it all depends. Are you a major studio who's looking at some random 232 subscriber channel and wondering how you actually animate something? Or are you a single guy in your mother's basement? Now, if you are a single guy in your mother's basement, it doesn't cost much of anything. The paper is very cheap to get, and this, you can find them in packs of, I believe, 500 for under $10 even. And then obviously I made this out of recycled cardboard, so not very expensive there either. The pencil, I mean, I didn't even buy this pencil, I found it. And then the lead inside, I just scavenge it. But lead is very cheap, a couple dollars maybe for a big pack of it. And then, yeah, everything is very cheap depending on if you're a studio or not. If you don't have to pay your employees, or if you don't have employees to pay, there we go, it's very cheap, very, very cheap. If you're just working alone, it can cost almost nothing, even. Probably under $20, but it does cost a lot of time, and that's one thing. It takes a long, long time to do this stuff. It took me, I believe, 4 months to make the big animation that I'm working on, and that's just the frames. It's going to take me over a year and 10 months to complete the entire thing. That's one thing about animation. It takes a long, long time. So don't rush it. That's one thing I learned. If you rush it, it won't turn out well. You gotta be patient and you gotta work hard. But yeah, that's basically it. I do hope you enjoyed. A bit of a different video. Usually I do LEGO videos, but I hope some people at least see this, and I hope they do enjoy. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed. I shall see you next time, where we'll probably be doing another LEGO review. But, just so you know, at the end, I'm getting on to actually doing this, because I just today finished the first half of the black and white animation, the big one that I'm working on. It's over 7 minutes long, the first half, and I'm quite happy with it. But I do hope you enjoyed. Again, I shall see you next time. Goodbye.